Someone said they've already tried to use Voyant with Girl by Jamaica Kincaid, one of my favorite writers, and she said, oh, this was helpful. Yes, so I'm reading this. We can use this to analyze Lincoln's speeches. Yeah, so you know how hard it is to get students excited about some of the texts we teach them, even though we're really excited about it and they're important. This is a way to sort of move them into thinking about these texts in a different way. It works best with English text, English language text. And if you're doing something in translation, then, you know, I always warn students that there's some editorial context going on with the translation itself. So just be aware of that. Okay.
Just jump in and say Voyant does other languages though.
It does, yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to bobble that one. That's a really good question. So with STAR, they're going to have to write on the fly, right? So what I might do is collect a few different examples of things that the students practice, right? And maybe put them into this text and have the class sort of think about what kinds of things make, you know, good writing. What kinds of ways can we think about this sort of use of breaking down the text into these little discrete pieces? What does that help us understand about writing? And the other thing Ripsys points out is, and this is really important, you can upload 2 different files and compare them. I didn't get into this, but let me just say it's really great to teach students revision of their own text, because those students that are like, I changed 3 words and it's revised, the reason they do that is they don't really know what revision means. So if you take their first draft and their second draft and put it in Voyant, I think it becomes very clear where they're revising and how deep that revision is. And you can use that to help them think about, well, what would be a better form of revision? Yes, somebody said, oh, so I could put the Lincoln Douglas or Lincoln Davis in there. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly the kinds of creative thinking that I hope this will spur. Lots of great ideas. Compare Kennedy's Berlin Wall speech with Reagan's speech. Yes.
I'm a fan of doing William Jennings Bryan's Cross of Gold and Reagan's City on a Hill. Those go really well together.
That's great. There's some discussion about OERs. Someone asked, are those free textbooks available for all A&M system universities? Yes. One of the things that we hoped with these OERs is that people everywhere will use them. And it will keep the costs down. I know that when Texas A&M developed a OER textbook for biology, which was sort of all our freshman biology, baby bio courses, I think they figured out they saved students something like $1.5 million in 1 year. That's how many students we have in baby bio, but also how much those books cost. So those are out there for you all to use.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of students, you know, I like to try and, you know, work with, encourage my teacher candidates to work with librarians. That's always a really, really good step, because it's a really good information literacy moment, and to help students understand how to evaluate the kinds of sources they find online and distinguish between sources that are reputable and sources of ill repute. I generally, have worked with teachers on, you know, developing scaffolded inquiry assignments, kind of scavenger hunt type things, to help acquaint students with the various kinds of digital resources or archives that exist, so they get comfortable with how to use search terms, how to do the search, how to filter what they're finding. And so, you know, for example, they'll do, you know, go to Digital Public Library of America and find, you know, 2 images of, you know, mill workers in 19th century Massachusetts. I'm in Massachusetts. And so, by doing that, it gives them something really concrete to look for, to get comfortable with the interface. And then we can start thinking about, what are the research questions that you have? How do you craft search terms that align well with your research questions to find the kinds of primary sources that you want to use for the work that you're doing?
Yeah, and one thing I often do with digital archive materials, I actually make an assignment that we do early in the semester where we analyze the reputableness of a digital piece. And I have a project which I'm happy to share with you all, but it sort of is, they get an individual, each individual gets a digital archive or a digital project. And then there's a set of questions I ask them to walk through to think about, okay, how do you know this is reputable or not reputable, right? Are there scholars involved? Is it affiliated with an institution we trust? Like, is it .gov? Okay, so maybe we trust that more than, some Yahoo corner of the internet, right? Like, something built in 1999, right? That was just some guy's, cool project, which may be good too, but maybe not. And so there's these set of questions I ask them to walk through, and it gets them thinking about things that we want them to in terms of digital literacy. It helps them to be kind of skeptical about what they find online, right? And I know that one of the things, I know Rupsi's done work with this as well. I mean, we actually talk a lot about, why Wikipedia is both helpful and unhelpful, right? So I don't do a blanket ban on like Wikipedia is bad, because, there's some things in Wikipedia that are really useful. Like I gave you the link to the definition of digital humanities in Wikipedia, which is really pretty good. So we do a lot of this sort of thinking through what sort of things on the website will signal that this is a helpful source and a source to be trusted versus a source that is not to be trusted.